Hey everybody, this is TJR, just hanging out here with Grogu and Superfan.
Hey everybody.
And this finally arrived. This is the new Lost second album by Elton John, entitled Regimental Sgt Zippo. And I actually had some difficulty getting a hold of this here. I pre-ordered it on Amazon. I should have gotten it last weekend, and the delivery, their delivery system gave me a notice saying that my package couldn't be delivered because the item was damaged, which, is fine. I understand that. But then they just canceled my order. And I was like, well, can't you just resend it to me? I mean, it's not that big a deal. I'm able to just simply, reorder it. But I expected they would just simply re-deliver another one. I didn't expect that I'd have to reorder. So anyways, though, but I finally got it here. And here we go. Let's just take a look at it here. Here it is. Regimental Sgt Zippo. Now, this was about a year or so ago, a Record Store Day first release on vinyl. I decided I would just get this on CD. It is available on vinyl right now. And I do believe, this CD version comes with both a stereo and mono mix. At any rate, though, I mean, sometimes mono mixes can be cool, depending on, the type of music and when they were recorded. I definitely have found that some older albums from the 60s I prefer in mono versus stereo. Please Please Me by the Beatles, definitely prefer that in mono over the stereo. So here we go. Let's take a look at this here. It says here the debut album that never was on the hype sticker here. But Empty Sky was Elton's debut album. My understanding was this was going to be the second album. So I'm going to have to do a little research on that. But that's everything I had read, that this was the second album. And so let's go ahead here and just take this out of the shrink wrap and take a look at it here. There we go. I can see the back of my jewel case is already damaged. It's got a crack in there, but I don't worry about that type of thing. That's so easy to replace. It's not worth sending back for. Here we go. Very colorful. And now a lot of this, if not all of this, has appeared on the jewel box set, which I have been, ever since my last video about Elton John, I've been working on getting that taken care of. And I knew this was coming out too. And the jewel box set review has kind of got away from me, and I am still trying to get caught up on it here. What I'm intrigued to know when I listen to this is, will this be the same recordings that was on the jewel box, or will they be different? Because a lot of those are demos. So I'm going to find out. I'm going to listen to this here. But, very cool packaging. It looks really nice. Love the look of it. Very 60s psychedelic. Of course, you've got a song, the title track, Regimental Sgt Zippo. It sounds like an alternate universe version of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's certainly probably meant to invoke that. It was recorded in the late 60s when that was such an influential album, still an influential album to this day. So I'm going to listen to this now, and I'm going to come back with a review. You're not dying, are you?
No.
Okay.
Not right now.
Okay, good. I should mention, I'm sick again. And though I don't have a cough, but I don't feel my best, to be honest here. Very sick to my stomach. And not good. But I hope you're not getting sick, though.
No.
Okay, just a little leftover cough from the old thing that we had about a month or so ago? Okay. Just making sure you're okay. All right.
I wasn't planning on dying right now.
Good. Please don't.
Okay.
I would be very sad. And anyways,
I'll let you know if I change my mind.
Okay. I'll be back with a review. Okay, we are back. And so first of all, I was really happy upon listening to find out that in many cases, in most all cases, except for 3, these versions on this album here are unique to this release. A lot of what you heard on the jewel box what I heard on the jukebox were early demos or alternate versions. Only 3 tracks from this album included on Jukebox are the actual same final versions that we heard here. And in some cases, they still sound better because they sound like they're mixed better. I listened to the stereo mix for this review. I did not listen to the mono mix. It is possible, if I do a back-to-back comparison, which I could do later, that the finished versions they're referring to are the mono mixes. And of course, the Record Store Day release was the mono mix. My understanding, of course, is that the LP version accompanying this broader nationwide release, or worldwide release, I should say, is the stereo mix, which you get on the LP. On the CD, you get both. To me, it's a no-brainer to get the CD for this one, as much as I love vinyl. But so yeah, I was really thrilled that these are quite different, for the most part, than what we heard on Jukebox. And I think that the majority of these tracks really benefit from the added production. Also, there were definitely moments where you hear a band arrangement in the Jukebox version, and then you hear this version, and it's more alive, this final version. The band's performance is just more exciting, in my opinion. I took notes about many of the tracks here. Like, for instance, the opening track, Tilby Abbey, was just a piano demo. And I'm reading off my phone here. This album version has a much grander sound to it, a grander wedding march feel to it. And there's a lot of very evocative instrumental production added to it that enhanced the original demo. These are some of my quick notes here. And I feel this way about so many of the tracks. This album does feel very much like it's been influenced by the music of the time, which was the late 60s.
Yeah, well, in his biography, he said that they were writing for thinking they were selling songs
To other artists.
Yeah. And there are definitely songs like...
There was one you pointed out.
I can't remember which one.
Yeah, because you're hearing this for the first time.
It sounded like Herman's Hermits.
There was one you said sounded like Herman's Hermits, I remember. There was one you felt sounded like it could have been the Turtles. And there was one track you said could have been the Monkees.
Yeah, and there was another one, and this is the way it was presented as well.
Mm-hmm.
The one that sounded like the Monkees, I could hear Mickey Dolenz singing the song.
Uh-huh.
I could hear him vocally,
Yeah.
And the way the harmonies were done.
Yeah.
And the high tambourine.
Yeah, Bernie...
really upfront tambourine.
Yeah. And Bernie Taupin has mentioned in interviews that how strongly this album was influenced by what was popular on the radio at the time, the popular groups at the time. This album feels very, very definitely late 60s, very of its time.
Yeah.
But very enjoyable.
Uh-huh.
There's a few tracks that I would say probably didn't appeal to me as strongly. They didn't appeal to me strongly when I heard them in their jukebox form, and they didn't appeal to me all that strongly here in their final form. One of those tracks, Dandelion in the Wind, did not care for the demo. I like the finished version just a little bit better. I might like it more with repeated listens, but yeah.
Yeah. And there was one song that really reminded me of Sonny and Cher. I have to say that one too.
I know, yeah. And once again, sorry, we're listening to this for the first time. But yeah, I remember you commenting on that as we were listening. I should have taken notes on that while we were listening. My apologies. Other thing...
No, it's a challenge for them to go and listen to it.
Yeah.
Those songs
and see how they feel about it, yeah. I should also mention, this song was recorded on, a 4-track machine, which was common at the time. And it was produced by Caleb Quay, if I say his name correctly. Caleb Quay, who played on Empty Sky, but did not produce it. Empty Sky was produced by Steve Brown, and I reviewed Empty Sky on this channel quite some time ago. And I honestly felt that Empty Sky was not a very good album. And one of my continuous complaints throughout that album was just the production, how bad I thought the production was. There were times when I felt like Elton's vocals were buried under his own harpsichord playing. And it just, I thought, you know, they remastered it for the release that I reviewed. It was part of the re-release effort on his back catalog that occurred many years back. But I really thought they needed to go back in and just remix the whole thing, because it just felt very poorly mixed. You know, just the production overall, just not very good. I have to say, to Steve Brown's credit, when it came...
waiting for the 100-year special edition of that.
Exactly. To Steve Brown's credit, I have to admit that when it came time to do the second album, the self-titled second album, Elton John, which for us in the United States, for most of us, that was Elton's first album, because that was the first Elton album released here in the U.S. officially. It wasn't until after he became famous, a few years later, that Empty Sky got released here in the United States. But I have to give him credit. From what I understand, he was set to produce, he was going to produce the second album, but instead he introduced Elton John and Gus Dudgeon to each other and said, and I don't know if he told Elton this or if he told Gus this, but I think you two are better matched than me. So I have to give him credit for that. He could have tried to stay in the, you know, he could have tried to keep producing, but he said, no, I think Gus Dudgeon would be a better producer. And of course, the pairing of these two, Elton John and Gus Dudgeon, throughout his career in the 70s is absolutely magical. And Gus Dudgeon, to me, was very much his George Martin. You know, without George Martin, the Beatles albums would not, I don't think they would be what they are today.
They wouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, they'd be, but they'd be different.
No, they wouldn't have gotten signed.
Well, that's true. You're right. You're right. They wouldn't be. You're right about that. I forgot. I'm just thinking purely from a production standpoint. You're right. But yeah, Gus Dudgeon's production is, to me, very much a huge part of how great those albums sound. I mean, yeah, Elton and Bernie's songwriting definitely improved. You know, the songwriting was definitely, you know, got stronger after Empty Sky and continued to get stronger. And there was that whole fruitful period during the 70s that Elton describes as this period where he could do no wrong, and a period that he has self-admitted, I'll probably never experience that great of a creative period than I experienced then. And got to give him a lot of credit for saying that. I still think that Elton continues to make good music. Maybe the albums aren't as strong as that classic period, but that doesn't mean you should ignore the more recent albums throughout the 21st century. They're still really good albums. But yeah, Caleb Quaye, I keep wanting to say Caleb, I don't know why. Caleb Quaye, I think definitely was a better producer, because this recording has energy, it has life. And I felt that Empty Sky was just lacking energy. Everything just felt very plodding and kind of dreary, in my opinion. That's my memory of it. And
monotone.
Yeah, that's right. And I have to admit, I have not listened to Empty Sky since I reviewed it on this channel. I really haven't listened to it. I listened to it a number of times before reviewing it. And, you know, I doubt I'd feel different upon re-listening. But now that I've heard a lot of these demos in the Jewel Box set, I've kind of thought maybe I should re-listen to it. But at any rate, though, oh, and one other thing that I discovered, there's a great breakdown on Elton John's website about Regimental Sgt Zippo. I looked at this while I was listening. That actually gives you a lot of good information and breakdown. And one thing I found out was one of the demos that I thought sounded really good on the Jewel Box was a song called Sitting Doing Nothing. And I thought that was a good demo. And it was actually released, actually on Jewel Box it says alternate mix, Jewel Box band version. So apparently they remixed it for this version. It's probably the same exact recording, but just remixed. It sounds better. But I found out this was a rare instance where Elton wrote the lyrics.
And they were good.
They were good lyrics. Caleb Quaye wrote the music. There is one other track that is attributed to Elton and Caleb, and that is the track here, You'll Be Sorry to See Me Go, which makes its debut on this release. First, its debut on the Record Store Day drop, and now here with this worldwide release here of the album. But yeah, it's another track that they co-wrote together, but no mention is made as to whether it was another collaboration where Elton writes the lyrics and Caleb writes the music, or if it was reverse, you know, the other way around. They don't mention that there. But they do mention that about the track Sitting Doing Nothing. They do mention it there. And you're seeing me look back and forth because I'm looking at a computer screen and my phone screen here. No, we're not pretending here. It's a professional show. But anyways,
We
though.
want to have our facts straight.
That's right.
We try.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work.
Yeah. But overall, I think this is a stronger debut. And I did find out that apparently, yes, this was going to be the first album. I was misinformed. I guess somewhere I read this was supposed to be the second album. But this was supposed to be his first album. It was shelved and apparently Steve Brown told the record label, give them another try at this here. I think they have more to say than just this. And I guess the reasoning was that this sounded so much like a product of its time, like it was emulating so many other music artists of the time. And that's what I at least interpret the statement. If I read it here off of Elton John's website here, where they break it down, Steve Brown said to Dick James Music, give these guys a little more slack other than just as songwriters in the Moon and June genre that you're looking for. I don't know what he means by the Moon and June genre. Obviously a genre of the time.
It's pop music.
Pop music of the time, I guess, yeah. And he said, but he said they do have other things to say musically. And that apparently later he may have said to Elton Bernie, let's shelve this album and see what you can come up with and let me produce the next album, which turned out to be Empty Sky. And I think this was a stronger debut and much more fun to listen to. Like I said, a couple tracks, not so crazy about, but only a very small handful of them, maybe 2 or 3. Whereas the rest of the album, I found myself really enjoying it, having a really good time hearing it. And it feels like a late 60s psychedelic album at its best.
But again, to his credit, he pushed for that.
He pushed for
Artist
Elton to be Elton. He pushed for Elton and Bernie to try to figure out more who they were versus emulating what was coming out at the time. You're right. You have to give him credit for that too. That he felt that they had more to say than just this. But with that said, this I still think was...
Because I think that if it had been just this, you might not have gotten that first U.S. Elton John album.
That later version of Elton. Had he not pushed them to try to figure out more who they were. So again, give them credit. Give him credit, Steve Brown credit, for what he did do. Even though I didn't like Empty Sky, he was trying to help them. He was trying to push them to figure out, in my opinion, at least that's what I read, he was trying to push them to figure out, who are you?
Yeah,
who are Elton John and Bernie
Taupin?
Taupin?
He wanted them to grow.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's, he gets a great deal of credit for that. But yeah, still very strong, really enjoyable. Manage your expectations when you listen to this kind of stuff. You're not going to hear, a funeral for a friend, or a Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, or Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, or Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. You're not going to hear that level, but you will hear some really fun, enjoyable songwriting and some fun performances.
On the path to those great songs.
On the path to those great songs, yes. This, like I said, much stronger than Empty Sky. And who knows what would have happened if this had come out first. I mean, at the end of the day, he still might have been introduced to Gus Dudgeon, and they still would have continued their songwriting, Elton John and Bernie Taupin, their songwriting may have continued to progress, and he may still have evolved into what we know him to be now. I mean, because that did happen. This was recorded, shelved, then Empty Sky was recorded, released, then the second album. And prior to the second official second album, he was introduced to Gus Dudgeon. So it could have turned out exactly the same, with the exception that this was released first. And who knows? Who knows what reviews might have been like. But I will recommend this album. It's an enjoyable release. And I think you enjoyed it too.
I did.
And I think Grogu enjoyed it as well. Because
Robert won't let it go, so obviously he liked it.
Yeah, he likes it quite a bit. And so anyways, though, let us know
if he doesn't need it.
Yes. As always, if you do have a Grogu in your home, always keep your LPs and CDs away. And yeah. Anyways, though, but hey, let me know what you thought. Let us know what you thought. Please leave a comment if you've heard this album. James, appreciated your thoughts in the comments. I know you liked it too. But let us know what you think. I do intend to finish up the review of Jewel Box. I've been working on it, trying to get those other tracks. I will never, ever, ever, ever let something like that get that far away from me again. And I say now, you never know what could happen. But barring any major catastrophes in life, or horrible catastrophic illness, hopefully that will never happen again. I took a different approach, which I shouldn't have taken. And yes, let's knock on wood. Yeah, I know I'm not feeling my best today, but hopefully feeling a lot better tomorrow. But this album did perk me up. I'll say that too. It really perked me up listening to it here. So that's another good recommendation. Let me know what you thought. Leave a comment. As always, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a video. Big thank you to the patron supporters.
You're fierce and mighty.
Thank you, Superfan. And yes, we really appreciate you. If you'd like to be a patron supporter, please go to patreon.com/TJR the original and make a monthly pledge. And patron supporters get their names in the credits, and they also receive exclusive videos that aren't available here on the channel. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. Hope you all stay safe and healthy. Hope I feel healthier soon. And hopefully by tomorrow I'll be able to hold down food. Anyways, everybody take care.
Bye.
Yes, too much information, more than you wanted. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.